Yes, Ring Kings podcast is back. What are we doing here live on the Sunday night? I'll tell you what we're doing here. This is hashtag one take. Okay. hashtag one take. We're not doing 80 edits. We're not going back. It is what it is. We're streaming this, and this is going to be it. And this is our episode for the week. Look, we got a lot to talk about. Okay. We didn't give you necessarily an episode last week. We were in New York watching the Teofimo fight. We put out a couple of clips on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you check that out. For the audio listeners, hey, listen, it wasn't suitable for audio. I'm sorry. But look, this is a makeup. Okay, we're going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about Bud Crawford, who had a fight at the same time as Teofimo. We're going to talk about Frank Matin, who just fought last night. Okay, so yes, we are here. And shout out to my brothers, Mr. OTR Mike and B. What is going on, fellas?
Every week we have not got.
At one point, we had a plan, and I can't remember what the plan was.
The plan was you go first, B, and then
I thought that was at the end.
No, I go first at the end.
All right. Well, you know what that says? That says we need to record more. Right. So.
Hey, shout out to D Weezy who's in the chat. Yes, like I said, we are streaming live, man. He says the intro. Yes. Appreciate you, D Weezy. Look, right now we are streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, and no, not Twitch, Facebook. Yeah, we don't have Twitch for Ring Kings yet. Yeah. But with those places, make sure you hit that like button, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. For our audio listeners, you know what it is. Hit that 5-star review. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit that like button. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. But all right, look. So my man Mikey was in Mexico over the weekend celebrating our brother OTR Brandon. Congratulations, OTR Brandon and his wife Nia. They got married. So he was enjoying the warm weather, okay, the good food, the good times, and we were enjoying the cold concrete jungle that is New York. Okay, we had a good time. It was freezing, but we had a good time.
Where dreams are made of.
Where dreams are made of. Yes. Got to meet up with our friend Chris from the Deep Cover podcast. Hung out with us for a little bit. And me and B went up there with our nephew Sadiq and got really good seats. I didn't see the actual seating before we got in there, so I was shocked to see how close we were to the ring. Those were really good seats. I thought we were going to get in trouble. I was like, man, somebody's going to come looking for these seats at some point, man. Like, we got to move, right? He's like, no, these are our seats. These are Ring King seats.
These are taken care of, okay?
Yeah, we got that. So, so we were at the Teofimo fight. Got there to just in time for the main card. So it started with Keyshawn Davis. Just about everybody on the card, the undercard at least, we've done a watch list video for. So it's very exciting to watch them in person. So start with Keyshawn Davis, and look, took care of business, right? Not much to say there. I mean, I know he was looking for a knockout, but I mean, it's as close as you can get to to completely dominate somebody without knocking them out. And he did that. He gave himself like a B for B grade for the fight, but I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he was completely dominant from round one through it was an 8-round fight. He landed over 200 more punches than his opponent. His opponent landed 17% of their shots. Like it was no contest at all. And this was a guy who was meant to test him a little bit, right? Keyshawn, he said it after the fight, when he was being interviewed that he's ready to step up. I believe he's right. He's ready to step up to that next tier and continue to test himself because, man, the guys on the lower levels, they can't touch him.
Yeah. The question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to throw in, even though I wasn't there, that Keyshawn is kind of super fast tracked. It's kind of we'll see what they do, right? But it does seem that they are pushing him a little faster than somebody of his talent level. At this point, you don't want to, you keep kid gloves on a lot of these guys who can be stars. But it seems like the nudge is a little different with him. But he seems up for the task, man. Super talented. He's one of my favorite young guys. Or one of my favorite young guys that's I got an eye on. But
Yeah.
he's 7. I think this was 7-0 for him.
I believe. Let me
6 or 7
check.
fight.
Yeah, 6 or 7 fight. But I agree with you, B. I think it is time to see. And the last 2 fights were supposedly fights that were going to be test for him, and he walked through both situations. So
7-0, 5 knockouts.
Yeah, so we'll see what he. I don't know how far up he's ready to go, or how far they're willing to let him go up the ladder. But it's. I think he's ready, man. We'll see. I mean, he's one of those guys that only letting him get in there will show just how good he could be.
Yeah.
The question is, sorry to turn my mic off for a second, or my camera. But the question is, like, the next, what's the next step up, right? Because I don't think he should be fighting any of those top tier guys just yet.
I think it, and I told you guys this before, just when we were talking about the fights. I think you try to get him in there with a guy like Kambosos, who is a name, and you're upside down. And
I'll fix it, don't worry.
It's but he's not an elite fighter, right? But he's a tough guy. Obviously, he got the win over Teofimo, even though we all kind of believe that Teofimo's head and heart weren't really in that fight. But he did. He went out there and he beat him, right?
Yeah.
So he's a talented guy. He's a tough guy, but I don't think he's not a guy who is, you don't look at him and say, man, he's gonna wipe the floor with Keyshawn. He's not ready. I think if they put that fight together, I'd pick Keyshawn to win that fight. And I think it's a good tough test for him, and it's a fight that will get his name out there even more.
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Jada6 says, what in the name of Stranger Things, Jose? I was flipped upside down for a second. Okay. I fixed it. Thanks for coming through. D Weezy says, yo, David's gonna find himself on one of my round robin bets soon. Hey, look, we're gonna get to that. But yeah, look. 7 fights, man. You talk about fast track. That's fast. And yes, he does look like he's ready for a step up in competition. As I say that, Chris Wright, he says Keyshawn is not ready. I don't think he's ready for those top guys, but the next level for sure. There's a lot of guys in that weight class. What is he, 135 or 130?
135.
I think it's 130. 135?
Yeah.
So he's in the same weight class as Frank Martin. That's interesting. That's another person we're going to be talking about tonight.
Well, it is funny you say that, because I don't know if you guys remember, probably a month or 2, maybe 3, when he and Errol were kind of going, Keyshawn Davis and Errol were kind of going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And, it kind of came about like, him and Frank Martin, and what kind of fight that would be. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a nice step up for him. Frank Martin is showing that he's one of these young guys. He's a little more quiet than these other guys. He goes in there and handle his business. But yeah, that has already been at least mentioned. I'm sure there's nowhere near talks about it, but it's been mentioned.
Yeah, I think for both of them, we're going to talk about Frank Martin more too in the podcast. But I think for both of them, yes, a step up. Hold on a second. A step up in competition would help get their name out there, to build up their resume and just their popularity a little bit more. So yeah, I think who though? That's the question, right? Like,
for
Cruz, Jojo
Martin,
Diaz.
It's time for him to be stepping up to the top level. I mean, he's 17-0, but he's 27 years old. So like, you wait much longer with him, and you're talking about him being out of his prime before you even attempt to fight top level fighters. So I think he's got to go now. Keyshawn obviously has more time if they want it, but I think it'd be good right now to move him up and test and I don't think that Kambosos is that big of a threat. But the lightweight division, like Mr. J says, they have some very talented fighters there, right? But it also is it's a little open, right? Devin Haney is sitting there, and Devin Haney doesn't really have the respect that a undisputed champion would normally command. Lomachenko is about to age himself out, and he's pretty small for those guys anyway. It's a division that's ripe for the taking. Now, Shakur Stevenson moved up, and we all kind of assume that he's going to be the guy that takes it. But if not, Keyshawn can put himself in that conversation as well.
So, how about? What do you think about? Okay, what do you think about a Frank Martin? Oh, who would you want to pair these guys with? I'll just throw it out there like that. Either Frank Martin or Keyshawn Davis versus a Rolly, or a.
I think that's a decent fight for Martin.
Or Cruz. What about Cruz? Pitbull.
Yeah, because like I said, with Frank Martin, he's got to go now, in my opinion. You don't want to wait too much longer and have him be 30 plus before he even gets like a world title shot. This last fight was a WBA title eliminator, so presumably he's going to be looking for a title shot. But actually, hold on, yeah. And it's weird because I don't know what the point of having the one eliminator is. There's just the one champ, right? Yeah. But I don't know if you want to run directly in and fight Haney, but you got some time there. Haney's going to be fighting Lomachenko most likely, and then you could set something up after that if he's not still got Tank on his brain. But I think that Frank Martin against a guy like Cruz, a guy like Romero, like you mentioned, I think that's a good test for him moving up. But he's got to start taking those types of fights to see where he's at.
Yeah. All right. And that's just the first fight. that was just the first fight. The next fight on that card was Jared Anderson. Okay, another prospect that we've made a video on our upcoming our watch list series. Mm-hmm. And I forget the guy's name he was fighting.
Forrest,
yeah. Look, Forrest tried it. Okay,
he certainly did.
I would say he had a pretty sound game plan. Okay, I'm gonna run out there and I'm gonna bomb on this man. Okay,
and he did.
He
connected a couple times.
He did. He
angered Jared Anderson.
And Jared Anderson said, "All right, good first round. Next round, I'm gonna put you to sleep." And that's what he did. Okay, he didn't. It wasn't a KO. The ref jumped in there before he went night. But it was short work.
Yeah, it wasn't, and it was like he was slumped over. His arms were hanging down, and he was out. But he was out on his feet. It was a very impressive, even though short performance. Jared, he's got some work to do. Obviously, still, he's got to work on his defense. He like we said, he got caught with big shots early. Now, he took them well. He's a very athletic guy, and he closed the show in very entertaining fashion. He's a great entertainer, which is an important thing. Yeah. But yeah, he's one that I think needs a little more time before you really try to step up. I mean, the thing with him is, he's in the heavyweight division, and you're talking about Fury in his late 30s, Deontay in his late 30s, and Joshua in his early to mid 30s. Usyk's like 37, 38. So if he wants to try to get in with one of those guys, it's got to be sooner rather than later. But I think he's gonna miss that wave altogether.
I think that's a good thing. I don't think he's ready for any of those guys. Once those guys right off to the sunset, there's not a rush for him to have to go up there and take on somebody before he's ready. He can take his time because it's going to be the next batch of young fighters coming up, and he can deal with the Ruiz, somebody like that.
And the Joyce and Dubois and
exactly. So I think he's in a good position right now.
So that's my question for y'all. Like, I mean, B, you kind of, and both of you guys kind of gave your opinion on, what type of level he needs to start moving towards. But I mean, what's next for somebody like him? I mean, I think is he caught in between that, okay, like, is he in that middle level, caught in between, like, not the top guys? He's better than the below guys, but is he in that middle, or does he still need to be creeping through those, lower tier guys and creeping his way up into the middle tier?
I think he middle tier. Like, you gotta do it slowly, right? Like, he hasn't had that many fights either. I don't believe.
He's 13-0, all 13 knockouts.
Yeah. So I mean, you got the top tier guys are all like older guys, right? Unless like you're fighting somebody on their way out, like like Derek Chisora, I don't think is gonna fight again. Right. I mean, King Kong or Ortiz, he might do the fight. That could be somebody possibly, right? Then you got Andy Ruiz sticks out. I don't think he's ready for Usyk. Yeah, man. The Zhang Zheli, right? I'm not sure if he's ready for that either. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about that tier below that. I don't know those guys that much. I know the dude that Wilder just knocked out, Hellenius, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Somebody like that. But Charles Martin, that's the one that King Kong knocked out. Some fighters like that. I would say Charles Martin, Luis Ortiz, Dubois. You mentioned Dane Dubois. One of those fights I think is should be next for him. Then you can better gauge him and see what he's ready for. But yeah, I still think he has some stuff to work on. But I think those level of fighters is what he should be looking for.
Yeah, and he's still young, 23, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like you can in the heavyweight division, you can knock off some names without taking any real threatening fights. That's just where the division's at. There are a couple of undefeated guys who are trying to make their way up. Frank Sanchez, Ergovich. I mean, you don't really have to take one of those fights right now. Like Jose mentioned, you have the Ruiz, the Ortiz, those type of guys who are out there who are just kind of, they're journeymen essentially, right? They're journeymen who are pushed to a higher level of notoriety because the heavyweight division hasn't been good in a very long time. He could start to, take a fight like that, here and there right now and increase his profile without taking, too much more risk than he's already doing. So I mean, I who knows where they're actually going to take him, but I think that's the way he probably should go, is try to get a guy with a name and a guy who's not going to, not one of the top guys, but like you said, sort of a middle tier journeyman type who he can probably dispatch pretty easily, but to get himself a little more profile.
Yeah. All right. So next we went on to, we could argue it wasn't billed as a main event, but this was the guy that everybody came to see, Mr. Xander Zayas. Okay. Mikey, that crowd was electric when Xander Zayas came out. And before we get to Xander Zayas, I want to give a shout out to his guy, his stable mate, Edgar Berlanga. Okay, we saw Edgar Berlanga there at the fight. He's a few feet away from us, shaking all the hands, taking all the pictures, and seemed like a real just cool guy, genuine guy. He didn't say no to anybody, man. There was a line of people coming down the stairs to take pictures with, and he stood there and took pictures with every single one of them, right? And then went back to his seat, and then later on during the card, he walked around again when people called him out. He come right over, yeah, take a picture. No attitude, nothing like that, man. So shout out to him, man. Real good look. But he was doing that right before Xander Zayas came out. When Xander Zayas came out, man, that crowd went wild.
Mm-hmm.
That crowd went wild.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, he came out to the song "Narco" with the trumpets. That Edwin Diaz comes out to. That's his walk-up song. He's a baseball player for the Mets, I believe it is. So once those trumpets started and people saw Xander at the beginning of the walkway, man, you couldn't hear anything. It was deafening.
Yeah, he's another one, man. I mean, look, you guys, the way you just described Berlanga, that sounds dope. That he was, there taking pictures with people and seemed like a real stand-up guy. And what I'm going to say is that it's not shade, it's just the business, but it appears that, Xander has passed him in, the prospect order for top rank. Like it was Berlanga. Berlanga was the guy. They kind of had those two together where, you're fighting. Berlanga was more so headlining, and then you had Xander on the card. But it seemed like, man, at the worst, they'll be co-headlining from now on, right? But this is a kid that is very, very talented, young. I think he's 19 years old.
I think he's 20 now.
20, okay. Yeah. Super impressive, man. So I think really sky's the limit for this kid.
I think he just turned 20.
Yeah.
I think he just turned 20. So the guy he was fighting, Alexis Salazar Flores, who was a gameful fighter, another step up in competition, right? Somebody that wasn't easy to put away, and he didn't put him away. And there's a couple of times in the fight where Flores, caught Zayas with a couple of shots, didn't seem to phase him at all. Yeah. There were flush hits, and he just like whatever. Look, I think Zayas did a good job. Yes, there's still some holes in his game, but I think he did a good job of adjusting. I think he did a good job of showing that, hey, he could be a technical fighter. His defense was good in the beginning. At times it got a little lax, but he showed that side of, if you want to mix it up, I can mix it up, right? I can take a hit to give a hit. Like, however you want to do this, we can do this, right? So I was thoroughly impressed, man. I think it was a great performance. He won by unanimous decision. That wasn't even close. But it was, like I said, it was a good step up in competition. Somebody give him a little bit more of a challenge, and he rose to the challenge.
Yeah, like you said, I think he does need to work on his defense. He gets hit more than he needs to, but obviously he's got a good chin. He doesn't wobble easily, and I think he's a little bit predictable offensively when he's coming in. He likes to go with the left hook and overhand right, and that's something I think needs to vary up a little bit. Outside of that, yeah, I mean he looked fantastic. He is at a point too where I'm not sure how much more he's gaining out of fighting guys like that, but you don't really want to necessarily say it's time to move into the top guys, right? I mean, he's 20 years old,
right?
So I think he's at a point in his career where he's going to have to just continue taking fights like that for another maybe 1 or 2 years, and just get more rounds under his belt before he really moves up. At 154, when you start talking about the top of that division, obviously you're talking about Jermell Charlo, Tim Tszyu, Fundora, those guys like that, and Castaño, and obviously not ready for that. Right. And so you really want to just keep active and just get more experience over the next couple of years. They say the plan is to be headlining the Puerto Rican Day Parade next summer, so that'll be pretty exciting there for him as well. But it's good that they have those kind of smaller goals, just in the short term to kind of keep him going.
Yeah, he's another one. No need to rush him, right? Look, like the Charlos and all them. I don't know. Look, and Tim Tszyu, he's pretty young too. I don't think he's that old. I could be wrong, but some of these guys will be there when he's ready for that next step. But there's no need to rush towards Zayas to that point. Like I said, he even going to his grown man body yet.
Well, that's the other part of it is like once he's really ready, he's probably not even going to be in that division.
Probably not. Yeah,
be moving up.
Yeah. So, Mikey, you got any thoughts on Zayas? Like again, I know Mikey was in Mexico, so he didn't see the fight, but
I didn't see the fight. I was trying to check, I was scaling the Twitter streets to see what I can find, what was going on. But yeah, man, like I said, impressive kid. I had to step away, so I didn't hear what you guys said. But my question, of course, was what's next, and I'm sure y'all touched on that. And then catching the tail end, where do you guys think he ends up? Where do you think he lands as his true weight class?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would assume right now, like if I had to guess, I would say probably 168, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. But right now, that's kind of where my head is at with that he, excuse me, that he'd end up at super middle.
Oh, okay, that's a leap. All right, but like I said, that he's super young, so yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But yeah, so definitely somebody to look out for. If you haven't seen our watch list video on Xander Zayas, go ahead and check it out. The other two fighters that we mentioned earlier, Keyshawn Davis, Jared Anderson, also we have videos on them. Jared Anderson, we actually have a YouTube short of the knockout, from our point of view. You want to take a look at that. So yeah, and also we did another short on this next fighter we're going to talk about, Teofimo Lopez. There's a controversy slip, right, per se. Was it a knockdown? Was it a slip? From our point of view, it looked like it was a slip. You hear me say it in the video, it's a slip. It was a slip. But that video didn't show you is when we looked at the overhead, we're like, oh no, that's a knockdown. All right. So, but yes, Teofimo Lopez, this is the main card fighting Sandor Martin. And listen, Sandor Martin, I think should have won the fight. I think he scored a knockdown early on, and look, balanced shot, didn't hurt Teofimo. Teofimo, just looked off. And then the second knockdown that wasn't called a knockdown, that was called a slip. I think if that was called a knockdown, right, on the scorecards, maybe it doesn't make enough difference as is, but I think that changes how that fight is viewed moving forward, right? Because you know how these judges are, things like that can sway their opinion. But I thought Sandor Martin probably should have won, but he just wasn't active enough. Like there's too many rounds where, yeah, he may have outboxed Teofimo, but he wasn't throwing punches. You know what I mean? Like Teofimo was just too aggressive, and he wasn't landing. And Sandor Martin throw a jab here and there, keep him off, but he wasn't active enough. And I think he gave away a lot of those early rounds that he could have used to win the fight.
Yeah, I think he did outbox Teofimo pretty well, pretty thoroughly. I mean, there were times that Teofimo caught up to him and landed some shots, obviously, but he controlled the pace and of the fight. He kept Teofimo at bay mostly when he wanted to, and he was able to really avoid getting into any real danger. But like you said, he just didn't do enough offensively to win the fight. So I just wouldn't see a way to actually give him the fight on the scorecards, just because he just wasn't throwing enough. Teofimo, man, that was a very disappointing performance. He followed Sandor around all night. He was going for the knockout all night, and just with no thought to setting it up, with no thought to winning rounds, with no thought to maybe working his body and tiring him out for later. Just nothing. Just, hey, I'm coming after you, and then once I catch you, I'm gonna put you away. Oh wait, I didn't do it that time. I'm gonna catch you again. I'm gonna put you away, and it just never happened. And after the fight, Teofimo was his same arrogant or confident self. saying, yeah, he won all the rounds, right? He won that fight easily. How could you not see that? But yeah, I thought it was a pretty poor performance, and I think a concerning performance for Teofimo in his future at that weight.
Yeah, so this appears, and again, I wasn't there, I didn't get to see the fight, but just listening to what you guys are saying, following up on social media, this is the second fight, right? We're seeing, and at this weight. Mm-hmm. So do you guys think that his power it's not translating to this weight? Because he appeared to have at 135 had some knockout power, but I did see the last fight before this one, and he was trying to. It felt like he was trying to put that guy away too, and he was hitting him with everything he had, but it didn't seem to work. And that was some of the talk during that fight. Like, okay, will this shake his confidence? Because shots that he's hitting this guy with may have put somebody away at 135. At 140, doesn't appear to be doing that. So do you think it's not translating to this weight? Do you think his confidence is shaking that he can't put these guys away like that? Did he look like he wasn't prepared for this fight?
Yeah. So Pedro Campa is the last person he fought. He knocked him out, right? But his problem, this goes back to when he fought. Who was it that he fought? Was it Nakatani that he fought? Mm-hmm. And he was complaining about like fighting taller fighters. He struggles with fighters that have a longer reach advantage, right? He struggled in fighters that know how to use their jab and keep him off. Like it just doesn't seem like he has. It was Nakatani. It was Nakatani that he fought. It just seems like he hasn't really learned much from there. He talked about not fighting any more taller fighters, so he doesn't have that problem. And Sandor Martin just used his reach advantage to keep him away, and there was nothing else, there's no other nothing else in his arsenal that he could use to get at Sandor Martin, right? And I'm sorry, man, like I just don't think Teofimo's father, who's his trainer, is ideal for him. I've listened to him talk in the corner in some of these fights, and it doesn't sound like good advice. I'm no expert or anything like that, but it just doesn't sound like sound advice. We were there live, so we couldn't hear what he was saying. But I just don't think he's doing a good job. And Teofimo's just sticking with him, and I think that's what's slowing him down. People are saying Teofimo's washed. I don't think Teofimo's washed. Right? I don't think that Kambosa's loss washed him. I think he's reached his limit with his father, and he needs to find a better trainer. Will he do that? I don't know. Like you have your father as your trainer. That's hard. It's hard to just say, hey, break off from him, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think that is hurting him at this point. You're fighting better fighters. Yes, those fighters at that weight class can take your punch a little bit more. He still has knockout power, but you're just fighting skilled guys, man. And when they see a weakness, when your weakness gets exposed, everybody's going to exploit that, and unless you can show him something differently, and he hasn't been able to do that.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a tough road ahead for Teofimo. If, like I said, he stays with his father and stays at 140, it's going to be. I think it might get ugly for him there. I think he might be the kind of guy where he does need to take a loss or two before he says, I do have to get away from my father and find a new trainer and switch things up. And so, that might be, in the long term, what's best for him. But right now, I really don't think it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it seemed. I mean, obviously we seen it. How bad the advice was when he fought Kambosos, and he's telling them he's winning and he's winning and he's winning. And everybody that could see watching that fight saw that that wasn't the case. And I mean, it's been talk of their relationship being strained here and there in other ways, and then him having issues, within his family and things like that. Right. And sometimes you have situations where it is good to stay together, but then in some cases it's not, right. And for his career, if he's going to be if you're going to live up to, the potential that he has, because he has uber potential, it may be time to step away. It's hard to do it, right? But we said the same thing for Berlanga, right? Berlanga had seemed like 18 people in his corner, right?
Yeah.
One of them being his dad. So he has 3 people yelling at him at one time. Like, I get it, you stay close to, and these are the people that brought you up in the game. But yeah, it's probably time for him to move away from his dad. You can keep your dad around, keep your dad in your camp, right? But as far as the guy you're listening to in the corner, that may need to change.
Yeah. And shout out to our guy Suge Knight 323 for the donation. It says, is that the GOAT? What's up, my homies? How we doing tonight? Appreciate you all. Appreciate you, Suge. And I see a comment in here too. Says 2 streams. He meant 2 streams. 2 streams in one day. Yeah, we streamed on the other channel, Lunch Break Hot Take. He said that's what I'm talking about. Hey, stay tuned. All right, stay tuned. We got. I mean, it's getting late. I don't know. I don't want to make no promises, but we got some other stuff to do. But listen, man.
Yeah, we got Ferris in here as well. Did Lopez win? Yes, he did. He won by split decision over Martin.
Yeah. Ferris says, he says, I have a rule: keep family, and that's all, because it always goes sour. Keep family. Okay, yeah, keep family. Yeah, don't mix it with business. It's tough in this business, man. It's tough in boxing to do that, because listen, some of these guys know what they're doing, right? How can you tell the Mayweathers, right? Hey, break away from your family, right? Floyd Mayweather Sr. and Roger Mayweather, I mean, that's it, right? Like they're it. Like they brought up Floyd from the time he was a kid. They made him a great fighter, right? Or trained him into becoming a great fighter. And other fighters have come up under them too, right? Oscar De La Hoya was trained by Floyd Mayweather Sr. for a little bit. So, I mean, he's an excellent trainer. I thought Sean Porter's dad did a good job with him up until his last fight.
Right up until the end.
Right up until the end, I think Bill Haney's doing a good job with Devin Haney. I don't like what he's doing outside the ring, but I think in terms of training him as a fighter and bringing in other fighters or other trainers to work with him as well, I think that's key. But I think he's done an excellent job. So some of these fathers, look, they can handle it, right? But some of them can't. that's where it gets a little weird. Tito Trinidad had his father, I believe, trained him as well. And he has a Hall of Fame career as well. So, I mean, in this business, you see that it's not uncommon, but when it goes bad, it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, and even to the Floyd situation. I mean, it was family, right? But he had to step away from Floyd Sr. for a while, right? And then he went solely to Roger, and then he worked with Roger for a while, and then he realized, okay, maybe this isn't, maybe I need to get back. He kind of got away from the defensive side of it and went back to his dad, right, to finish out his career. So, knowing when you need a change is the key for a fighter, right? Yeah. And trying to keep it. I mean, egos get involved, so it may be hard, right? And maybe they can't handle that. But for your career, right, as a dad, that's key. When you can realize, I gotta, maybe you're not hearing me. I'm not getting the best out of you. So maybe we need to go somewhere else. And that's, like you said, the key to what Bill Haney does. Talks a little bit too much outside of the ring, right? But he does bring in guys to work with him. So tough decision, man. But it's probably time for that change for Tio.
Yeah. So did he say that the Teofimo's dad said the N-word during the boxing broadcast? I didn't hear it. Shoot, I won't be surprised, man. He's a New Yorker. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't hear it though. I mean, if you're talking about the fight, we didn't hear the broadcast. We were there.
Yeah.
So okay, that was that card. Overall, very entertaining card. Glad we went to it. Now, that at the same time, okay, the big card, if you will, the card, okay, over there on BLK Prime,
baby.
right? Wait. I'm sorry. I didn't have that queued up. I'm sorry. I failed you guys.
Black Prime, baby. We in the building.
We're in the building. Yes, Black Prime, baby. Okay. Now, Bud Crawford, Terrence Bud Crawford versus David Avanesyan. Okay, the much talked about fight, the much anticipated fight. Okay, not really. I'm being very sarcastic, but it was talked about somewhat, not in the way that they wanted it to be talked about, but it was talked about. And look, from what I heard, okay, from what some people were saying, production wise, it was solid, right? We had our doubts about even that part of it, but production wise, it was solid. The matches weren't great, but it was a boxing event. Look, most of these fights don't have great undercards. Let's just be real about it, right? What Top Rank did on that card, you don't see that much. We got lucky just because they're all top ranked fighters and they're still up and coming, but you don't usually get cards like that. All right. So the undercard being a snoozer, that's not that big deal within itself. But listen, the main event's a snoozer too, even though it ended in a knockout, because that's not what anybody wanted to see. But there was enough to go on for us to talk about it today, right? The main thing being that Bud Crawford's gloves both bursted open, okay? And the boxing commission said, "Nah, it's cool. You go ahead." All right. And it ended in the knockout. And David Avanesyan has filed a grievance, to get that win taken away. And there's some talk. I mean, look, we're not really a gossip show, but look, it's out there that maybe not everybody from the event has been paid yet. So, there's that part of it. Yes.
But I thought they did better than expectations.
Well, yes, I'm sorry.
More than they were even hoping.
I forgot to add that part. They said that the event did better than expected. They said it was a sold out crowd. Now, look, I've heard rumors about that part too, that a lot of tickets were given away. Look, I don't know. If you say, hey, we sold every last ticket, I will believe that. It's in his home crowd. I think, yeah, I won't be surprised by that. Right.
That's fine. But that's the danger of the phrase better than expected, because that could be true. Because you could have been expecting 1,000 buys, and then you got 2,000, and you did better than expected. You could have been expecting 15,000 buys, and then you got 17 and a half. You did better than expected. But it can also be true that you did better than expected, and you don't have the money to pay the fighters because you didn't sell enough. Right?
Now, okay. So before we really dive into this, because listen, the Bud fans out there, Bud Crawford fans, we are not pro Bud, pro Arrow. Well, actually, we like both fighters, for being real, right? But this isn't one of those channels where we're just bashing one side or the other. Okay, we're just calling everything like we see it. Now we're going to talk more about outside of the ring, because for being honest, I mean, he dominated David Avanesyan. It went exactly as expected. I would have called, if I was a betting man, I would have said knockout around 6th round, right? Like everything went according to plan. Look, knockouts are always exciting to see, so it's entertaining, but there's nothing there to really talk about. Like that's what's supposed to happen with the inferior competition like David Avanesyan. So there's not much more to discuss there. He was never in any kind of trouble or anything like that. But everything leading up to the fight and everything after the fight is what's the news here for Bud Crawford, because this should have been a fight between him and Errol Spence. He decided to go this route, seemingly for more money or an extra paycheck, which I don't have a problem with it within itself. But there are questions. One, did you get paid what you were saying you're going to get paid? Right? Two, did it do numbers or enough numbers for you to go get another payday? Because some of the things that they're saying here, are it only sold 15,000, right? 15,000 pay-per-view buys. And if that's the case, that's your last big paycheck, in my opinion. Like, who's going to give you a huge pay-per-view split? Errol Spence ain't going to give it to you, right? Like what other fighter are you going to get in there and they're going to say, okay, 50-50 split or 60-40 split, right? They're going to be like, yo, you don't sell. You know, and I don't know if it's 15,000 buys, but I know it wasn't a lot, because if it was a lot, they would give you the numbers. That's how it works, right? If it was 100,000 or 150,000, they would put that out there, especially for a smaller operation. They'd be like, shoot, look at that. I mean, this is almost right on par, right? And we're doing this independent. They will put that out there, but it wasn't enough for them to put the number out. So they say it's better than expected. It was a success. That's a throwaway line. That means nothing.
Yeah.
So, Mikey, what you got?
Nah, I mean, I did hear, you know, there was some talk of Bud not getting all of his money yet. But then I seen a tweet from Bud last night or this morning saying, shout out to BLK Prime. I look forward to, you know, future endeavors, future situations. So
that's what you say when you try not to burn the bridge, but I ain't working with you.
So, right. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I don't know, man. I wasn't thrilled, obviously, right? We know the fight that we wanted to see. You know, it was also a tough night, right? You know, you fighting on the same night as the card you guys attended, which was free. Well, you know, if you had ESPN, it was there. So I can imagine, you know, what the numbers are, you know, and like you said, if they were great, we would see them. They would broadcast them, and they should broadcast. They, you know, they were great. They should be putting them out there. It's just the facts are just what they are. We don't hate Bud. We like Bud. We like both fighters, as you said. But he's just not. He's just not the draw. He's not a guy that's going to, you know, sell you a whole bunch of pay-per-views. He's not a guy that's going to fill your arena outside of being home. It just is what it is. Him going for the bag, can't be mad at him. But, you know, to your point, Jose, going for the bag at this point, does it hurt future bags? Unless you keep taking these type of fights. And, you know, at the same time, this might have been the best that BLK Prime has ever done, right? Let's just say. And then, you know, typically when you do something independent and you make a certain amount, you know, 15,000 buys independently is a little different than if you're one of the major the major publications, right? We understand that. But even if that is the most that BLK Prime has done, you know, was it good enough to continue the relationship to do it again? You know what I'm saying? Like, will we have enough money to pay you again? You know, so it's a lot of questions going forward. I hope, like we said before, I hope it worked out for Bud. I hope it was everything that they expected, or as they're saying, it was better than expected. But it was a tough move, right? And he got his money, hopefully. But going forward, that can hurt him in negotiations. You know what I mean? Going in to a fight with Errol or somebody like that, and you want 50-50 split or something like that. And if this guy, we know Errol does solid pay-per-view wise, that's not what you're gonna get. And I think that was the talk. It's all kind of rounded in the form is making sense. I think that was kind of the breakdown in the beginning. Like, bro, you don't get 50, you don't deserve 50-50 with this guy because the numbers show otherwise. So we'll see what happens going forward. I'm still not enthusiastic that we'll see him in Spence. Maybe not. But
I think that should be sell. I think that should be sell. Oh, you gonna say something, B?
Oh no, I was just going to. I think that's going to be a similar issue in getting a Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis fight, where Devin Haney just believes that he should be the top guy, and he just isn't. That's not what the reality is. I think that gets in the way of a lot of fights, right? People having delusions of grandeur about their popularity and how much they can sell. In terms of Bud, he apparently hasn't made a ton of money in boxing in terms of not close to like Oscar or Floyd or guys like that, and was just kind of tired of it and said, I'm gonna go get the payday. And he probably would have made more, I would say, going and going through with the Errol Spence fight, but he got this money for knocking out a guy that was probably easy work for him, right? And it's hard to tell. You can't really get inside his head and see how much he actually cares about having an Errol Spence fight, right? I'm sure to him, his legacy is set. He's one of the greatest ever. He's pound for pound best in the world and has been for however many years, right? I doubt he thinks he needs an Errol Spence fight to cement that or prove that. And I'm sure it's the same for Errol Spence. He probably doesn't feel like he needs a Bud Crawford fight. He can go do other things. He outdraws Bud right now. He's more popular than Bud. He's got a better resume, and there's other fights out there for him. So, he went and got his money. And yeah, I mean, probably going to be difficult to make that fight happen at this point.
So here's how I see it. I think that's true for one of them. I think that is true for Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence looks at it and says, okay, yes, this is somebody that'd be good to have on my resume to beat, but there are other fights out there for me. I don't need him, right? Because Errol Spence, all he's doing, that's his thing. No tune-ups. I'm not taking any tune-ups, right? Mm-hmm. I want to go and fight the best out there. And if you're not going to be available, I'll go fight the next best person. If I got to move, I'll go fight the next person at the next weight class, whatever. He's looking for the best out there. So in his mind, look, we're going to fight, we're not going to fight, but I'm not going to waste time with you. Bud Crawford, the reason why we spent so much time talking about Bud Crawford is because Bud Crawford is the one that broke the talks off, right? And decided to go another route. And all he's doing is explaining away his decision. If he had been quiet this whole time and said, look, I'm just focused on this fight, man. It's going to be a good show. If the Spence fight happened, it is what it is, great. I would say, okay, Bud doesn't, he doesn't care either. He thinks he's done enough, but I think Bud does understand that he hasn't done enough. I think he understands that there are questions about him. And of course, the D word that no fighter wants to hear, duck, right? He's getting those, and instead of ignoring people saying that, he's responding to it. I think he does feel a certain way about it, which is why he's doing his best, going on IG Live and doing his interviews to explain that I didn't duck, right? I wanted that fight to happen. You didn't want the fight to happen. You wanted this other fight to happen. You were doing that deal with them alongside with Errol Spence, and maybe it was one of those things where you thought, hey, I can use this as leverage to show them, hey, I got other offers and I don't have to take this fight. But I think it didn't go well. It didn't play to your favor. And now what we're seeing is, man, Bud might still want to get that Spence fight, but Spence does have other options. And when you go back to the table with them, they're going to say, look, man, yeah, we like to do this fight, but we can't offer you what we offered you before. We're looking at these numbers. You don't carry your fight. You're muted, B.
I think both things can be true, right? Like you can say, hey, he doesn't believe that he needs that fight, but also nobody likes to have people going at him on Twitter and IG all the time. And man, people were going at, but he had a dude tell him that basically he would beat him down, called him Lil Bro. You're a world-class fighter. You ain't trying to hear that.
That was, I think that guy was clearly joking, right? He said he would never lose to a guy named Terrence or a guy named Bub or something like that. That was funny. And Sugar wants to know who gets paid first, Lamar, LBHT by YouTube, or Bud Crawford. Low blow there. Shug. Okay. Yes, YouTube does owe us money. They're being funny with it. But we'll see if we can get that resolved. But we're not worried about it because we know you guys support us. And how do you support us? There are two ways you can support us right now if you're looking for a super chat. One is right in that corner below Mikey, $ LBHT show. That is a Cash App. Okay. Also, the pin link that you see in the comment, that will take you to our Stream Elements page both ways. All you got to do is leave your donation, leave your comment, and you get a nice little animation right over here next to my face. Okay. Also right above us, patreon.com/LBHT show. If you are new here, LBHT stands for Lunch Break Hot Take. That is our main sports page, our sports channel. So everything that we got different tiers for Ring Kings and Lunch Break Hot Take. So everything that you donate and support goes back into the show. All right. So we don't need YouTube, but we still want our money. We still want our money.
Whereas who's Errol fight next? The
talk is Keith Thurman. The talk is Keith Thurman. I think that's in the works right now. I think he might be the mandatory, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I do believe it is Keith Thurman.
Yeah, and I mean there's a lot of potential fights for Errol, even if he doesn't want, because he's said repeatedly and loudly that he is not going to fight Keith Thurman. Right, he could move up to 154 and look for a fight with Jermell Charlo or somebody else at that weight. Like, he's got a lot of options. There's other guys at 154, Boots Ennis, Ortiz. There's just other fights out there for him because he's a bigger draw and he can make those fights work.
Yeah. And shout out to Shug for the donation. Says we'll always support my brothers. Appreciate you, Shug. Thank you,
Shug.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, listen, this is going to be the talk for a while. Again, if you're Team Bud, you're down right now, dog. Like you're hurting. You're down on the scoreboard. Because there's just not much you can say. You can make up these excuses. And I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of reasons why. Actually, it was Errol who didn't set this fight up, or he could have set it up before, whatever. Look, the fact is, Bud's the one that walked away from this, right? And if he didn't get his money, if he didn't get $10 million, everybody gonna be looking at him like, yo, did you take a lesser fight for less money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's gonna be the head scratcher, and then what are you gonna say? Right?
We're in the building.
And regardless of the money, you fought a lesser opponent, and Errol's next opponent is not going to be a lesser caliber than David Avanesyan, right? If he fights Keith Thurman, that's a big time opponent. If he goes out there and beats down Keith Thurman, people are going to be looking at Bud like, what are you doing? What's your next move? So whether it's Bud, whether it's Errol, or somebody else, Bud better be his next move better be the right move.
Mm-hmm. And judging by just listening to Bud, it's not going to be the right move. Yeah. Paris, you think he's going to fight Charlo? They are stablemates. Would you fight your homies when you can fight someone else and make more money? I mean, look.
You talking about Errol?
Yeah, like they are professional fighters.
Yeah.
I mean, now they may not want to fight each other, and that's fine. Maybe they don't ever. But it ain't like you fighting a co-anchor. This is what they do.
Yeah. It's a business.
Like he was friends with Sean Porter. They were good friends.
Yeah.
They got in there and fought. And I'm sure they're friends now.
Yeah.
But that is what they do.
Hey, Bud and Sean Porter are friends. I mean, they went fishing after that fight. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a business to them, man.
They quiet as kept. Look, man, Bud and Errol Spence don't hate each other, right?
No.
Like it's they have banter. This banter has been going on for years, but there's videos of them in the same place, hanging out. They clearly they can call each other. Bud said, I called him and said, hey, I got this $25 million that,
he's got his number, right?
Yeah. They're all okay with each other, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. So, but as you said, it's a business. So look, let's get it on. Let's make it happen. And then it's any it's just like any competitive sport.
They're friends.
Yeah, like it's just like any competitive sport. Like, bro, I think I can beat you. I think I can beat you in shooting 3-pointer, shooting in the 3-point contest. I think I can beat you in the dunk contest or whatever. Yeah, we cool, but I think I could beat you, in the ring. So let's do it, and let's make a lot of money while doing it. So
yeah, let's make a lot of money, test ourselves, just give it our best, go and see how, and then we're friends.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure these two have fought a few times at their gym, right? And not some light sparring either, right? I'm pretty sure they've had some sessions where they just gone at it, right? So them doing it in front of hundreds of thousands of people doesn't change anything. You probably get the lighter
version. It makes
version
a
of that.
difference.
Yeah.
Did you not see Ip Man where he had to make everybody leave, and then there was that one kid who was looking at it through the window and went and told everybody, caused all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
All sorts of issues.
So they're professionals. So the fight could happen. Also, I mean, Jermell might move up, right? I mean, he's unified, right? Undisputed champion. Maybe he fights one more person and then moves up to, moves up in weight and drops those belts and lets Charlo or lets Errol eat at that weight class. Was it 154? So, I mean, who knows? But I know Errol's going to keep pushing himself to fight the best available, right? So you got Keith Thurman, you got Steniosis. I keep forgetting how to pronounce his name. And look, you got Boots Ennis who's out there. So that might be another person. He decides, okay, he's been clamoring for a fight. I'll give it to him, put him on my resume as well. But you will see Errol take on some of these opponents. The question is, what is Bud going to do?
Yeah,
that's the question. Because we're looking at resumes right now. Look, both of them could use a little bit more on the resume, but clearly Errol's got the better resume, right? Bud's got to go out there and start. He's got to start pushing it. There can't be any more David Avanesyans on his resume at this point. He's an older fighter. From here on out, it's got to be names that people are talking about.
And it's so funny to me because people will bash guys like Canelo and they'll defend guys like Bud Crawford to no end, right? But Canelo got to a point in his career and he said, all champions. That's all I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for belts. I'm moving up. I'm fighting for legacy. Bud Crawford, it will lay back and be like, I'm fighting David Avanesyan to get a bag. And y'all, it's all black people who are mad at me. Where they do that at? Okay. But you know what I'm saying? And when people be like, oh, but Caleb Plant wasn't a great champion. Okay, but he was a champion, right?
First of all, I think Caleb Plant is highly slept on, man.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like,
I think he's really good.
They hate the Canelo against for moving up and fighting nothing but champions and trying to build his legacy versus people who just stand Bud Crawford because I don't know why.
Okay. So, Mike, did you have some thoughts on that?
No, man. I mean, I think you touched on it. It is time. He has to make a move. I think Spence has shown. I always talk about it, right? Spence flipped his car, it came back and jumped in the ring with it. You know what I mean?
He race against time, man. He's on some Final Destination stuff right now. He just had another accident.
Yeah,
he wasn't even driving. He got into a car accident.
Yeah. Like, and
he said no tune-ups.
Yeah,
get these fights done.
And I respect that. I respect that so much about him. Like, he ain't got time for that. His daggone eye socket was hanging out. He came back and fought Ugas. It was for a championship. Like, it's just he ready. He want the smoke, right? Yeah. But I think Bud, I think ultimately Bud wants it too. But Bud has to find a good team or advisors or something to get him in the ring with some of these people. It's too many fights out there that can happen that can be in between him and Spence meeting. It's just so much that can happen, and he needs to start moving in that direction. It looked like it when he took on Porter, even though Porter has been that guy that's kind of been that good fighter, right? but like kind of that bridge guy in between some of these good guys. Like he giving them good bump.
Yeah.
But it looked like he was headed that way. But this dropping back to fight David Avanesyan, it just wasn't it. So it's time. He got to do something. But there's too many people out here for him not to be fighting some of these top names.
Yeah, he got into another accident. Well, he didn't technically. But
Yeah,
a
he was at
15-year-old.
he was at a light, 14, 15-year-old stole the family member's car and ran into him and totaled it.
And guess who was in the car? Guess whose car that this 15-year-old happened to hit? Of all people, Errol Spence.
Yeah. While he was on IG Live.
Right.
That's crazy, man. I do want to say this because you mentioned on something that Crawford's camp was saying, and I heard Blue Blood TV, Blue Blood Boxing say something about that, saying that it's black people that are criticizing this. Listen, the whole hey, support black business, it's black people that are keeping each other down. First and foremost, man, BLK Prime, like companies like that, you're not going to get me by saying, oh, support black business, right? Who is it owned by? You don't even know who it's owned by, right? I've heard it's owned by white folks, right? Like people like that. It's I forget the name of it. Something media owns it. Who are they? Who's the owner of it? Like, who is the head of BLK Prime before you say support black business? Okay, be transparent. Don't try to sit there and say, oh, it's black business. It's black owned. You got to support it. I see Paulie Malignaggi on your broadcast, right? Is he a supporter of black business? I think not. He said a couple of racist things recently, right? But you got him on your broadcast. Why would I want to support that if you're all about black people supporting your stuff, right? Yeah. And also, him, Bud's trainer, everybody else that's talking about Bud supporters. This is important, man. All that, hey, well, y'all just hating. That's not going to sell tickets. That's not going to sell pay-per-view buys, right? We try to look at things from a casual fan point of view, right? We don't proclaim to be experts on this. We know a little bit more than a casual fan, yes, but look at it from a casual fan's point of view. You can call us casuals, but casuals are what sell. They're the ones that are buying these pay-per-view events. So listen, just sitting there saying, oh, if you don't buy this, you're just hating, or you don't understand, and y'all don't get the business of boxing. I don't have to get the business of boxing, right? It's your job to sell me on the fight. That's what. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand the business of boxing. This is a business. So that whole y'all don't understand, y'all understand, that tells me that you don't truly understand. You have to promote it. So it'd be in your best interest to stop talking about that and start talking about your product. So that's a little lesson moving forward. Sell your fight.
Right. Yeah, and that goes with any business, man. Like we used to talk on Old Man Gamers all the time about like Madden, right? And Madden come out every year. Madden would have a lot of the same problems that it had last year, and just for fun, they would sprinkle in some new ones, right? And then you would have the lead developer from Madden come out and tell you how difficult it is to make games. Don't care
at all.
Because you know what? Because making games ain't my job. Nope. Making games is what I do or playing games is what I do for fun. And your game sucks, right?
And it ain't for free,
right? Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, if you want me to listen to you talk to me about how difficult your job is and how hard it is to make a game like that, then don't sell me that game for $60 or $70. You did a bad job because it's very hard. Okay, I will listen to that. I'm very, very sympathetic to that kind of stuff, right? You selling me that game for $30, right?
Yeah,
like, because that's a two-way street. Compassion. Like, yeah. I'll have all the compassion in the world for you, and I'll give you a pass on any number of bugs if you're giving me a pass on how much we're paying.
Yeah. If we can haggle for price, then that's something different. You see what Sugar said here. Old Man Gamers is back.
Where are the mods?
All right, look, we promised to talk more about Frank Martin. That's the third fight that happened last night. Look, he dominated. Okay, Michel Rivera. This was supposed to be a pretty even matchup. Although, I mean, I think most people pick Frank Martin to win this. We thought it'd be a little bit more competitive. Mikey, I was at your house at having a holiday party, right? And we put it on TV, and he dominated him. I can't remember which round was it that he knocked him down in, but I mean,
It was the seventh
round. He put him on his ass, and I mean, it wasn't a close fight. It wasn't a close fight. Michel Rivera was going through all the emotions of somebody who could be somebody. He's trying to get the Muhammad Ali look going. Our friend Daoud said that he looked like the Will Smith Muhammad Ali. He said he looks and fights like the Will Smith version of Muhammad Ali. So Frank Martin looks very good, and it's another opponent at 135. That 130, 135 area that is very dangerous, up and coming, and we gotta see what's next for him. I mean, if there's a lot of young guys there, and who's he fight next?
Who knows? I mean, we talked about Keyshawn. Keyshawn Davis, maybe Rolly, maybe. Now I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Rolly's name came up for Frank Martin, with Errol. I think Errol was doing an interview, and I think he kind of mentioned that. So maybe they move to that. Maybe they go that route. I mean, hey, like you said, he dominated, man, and Frank Martin is one of those, as you said earlier, he's an older guy, an older prospect at 27 or so, and but he's not known, right? He's not a household name yet, but he's somebody that you should be looking out for. He's quiet, like I mean, his demeanor. He just go. He kind of, he's under the same camp as Errol, and he kind of reminds me of Errol with his demeanor. Like, it's that quiet. I'm in here to handle my business. I'm not here to talk a whole bunch of smack. Like, yeah, whoever you put in here, let's get it on. But, yeah, watch out for Frank Martin. I thought this would be more of a competitive fight than it ended up being. And like I told Jose yesterday, when I first saw the kid Riviera, like, I thought that was actually Nico before actually seeing Nico, because I'm like, yo, he got Ali on his trunks.
Mm-hmm.
He got the haircut. He got everything. So I thought that was his actual grandson. But but I mean, the fights that I've seen him fight, he was solid, man. The kid was solid. So I'm like,
he was
okay.
He was 24 now. He's only 24 years old.
Young kid.
He was an up and coming guy too.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I was thinking, he would give Frank a little bit of run, but obviously he didn't. So I think Frank is another guy. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, and I think a Romero fight would be great for him, because Romero's a guy who, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna give him points for intelligence, but my man, like, when he starts talking, you can't really look away.
Yeah, he knows how to sell a fight. I mean, for what it's worth, Rolly know how to sell. He will sell that fight.
Yes, and it'll be like, even if you remember the whole run up to him and Tank's fight, he would go on a rant, and Tank would just be sitting there like, "What did you say? Like, what are you even talking about?" And that's how I felt too. But you can't not listen to him.
Right?
Yeah, he's mastered the ability to have the casual fan believing, like, you know what? I heard of this kid Tank, or I heard of this kid Frank Martin, but the way this guy talks, like, maybe he can beat him. I mean, it was a lot of people going into that fight that thought Rolly had a chance, and so that's good when you want to sell tickets, right? So I think that would be a good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Rolly Rolly is a professional trash talker, man. Like
Yeah.
he there is no off switch with him, man. He always talking about how he can whoop anybody. I think now that Tank, we even talk about Tank has left Mayweather Promotions. He's on his own. Congrats to Tank, Calvin Ford, and all that whole camp. GTD, right? That's their promotion. So I think it's going to do well. But for Floyd, Rolly is still with Floyd with Mayweather Promotions. So that's the next guy I think they need to focus on hyping him up, right? He does well, he does his best to sell a fight. He talks a lot of trash. He's been out here trolling. You need to put him in there with somebody that he can handle, right? Do the Ryan Garcia route where, hey, I'm gonna take on some easy opponents, knock them out, and just talk a lot of trash, get my IG numbers up, get a little following, and then try to have him go out there and fight some stiffer competition, look, he might be that good, losing the Tank doesn't really, everybody loses the Tank,
Well, yeah, I think you want to feed him a couple of guys he can knock out over his next couple fights. So just so he can get some highlight knockouts on his resume. But I think that Rolly is going to be, he's like Adrian Broner. It's not going to matter if he wins or loses.
Whoa, what is this? Who sucks? We suck, Hendo?
No, because Suge is asking why is he not a mod?
Oh,
because you suck.
Oh,
I assume that's what it is. I know you ain't talking to us. but no, I think ultimately it's not going to matter for Rolly whether he wins or loses fights. People are going to tune in to see him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another one though, quickly that I seen, get thrown out there. There was some, back and forth kind of couple tweets to Shakur Stevenson about Frank Martin. And the one thing too that I love about Shakur is everybody that they tweet at him, he's like, "Yo, let's go." You know what I mean? Like he doesn't say, "Nah, I'm above him." He says, "Yo, okay, if he's serious, let me send the contract over." So he responded to the tweet saying, "Look, I have respect for Frank Martin, but he can't see me, and I'd fight him." So that's another name that we've, I don't think Frank is there yet, but I think it would be a good fight. I think it would be a solid fight, So I guess that's the next push for Frank. You looking at that in between, obviously somebody like Shakur being at the top. You looking at like a Rolly, maybe a Pitbull Cruz, maybe somebody on that level. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with it.
There's so many fighters at that weight division, man. There's so many fighters. If they're managed well, and I think most of them will be, there'll be some exciting fights for years to come. So, all right. Look, yes, Suge has the power now. I gave him a wrench. I also gave you a wrench too, Hendo. All right. The LBHT crew that was in here tonight. You guys got
give one to Paris because I don't want to hear.
Yes, I did. You all have wrenches, okay? Everybody's got a wrench. All right. All right. We finished in just over an hour. We covered 3 main cards. All right. There's a lot more in store. Tank versus Hector Garcia is around the corner, and then Tank versus Ryan Garcia.
Incredible card on that fight too. Incredible undercard.
Yes. So we'll be covering. We'll be covering
and there it is.
What? What is?
Check out the chat.
What?
It seems you missed somebody on the mod train.
I didn't miss him. I got D Weezy too. See, look at that. Oh, he went to complain and found out he got a wrench. Look at that. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Unbelievable.
I said I got everybody that's in the crew tonight. That's everybody in the crew that's in the chat tonight has a wrench. I think I missed Davon actually.
Cousin Davon.
Hold on.
Really lost a lot of self-righteous steam there, didn't you?
Cousin Damon, I got you. The Lopez. Oh no, that's from earlier. Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. that's it. Look, we're going to be covering that tank card. We'll see what we're doing that night. We tried to get some tickets to that one. That was a little bit more challenging.
They were very unreasonable.
We'll just say it was a little bit more challenging to acquire those tickets. Okay. Yeah. We might have to. We do have somebody that is going. We might have to equip him with a camera or something. In fact, we might have to get him a shirt too. He has to go in and represent Ring Kings podcast for us that night. Yeah. Our brother Rome's gonna have to.
You know what? Yeah. We gotta sit Rome get some footage while he in there.
Yeah. Cool Dip Paul. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. You got
bone.
It's a wrench, eh? Oh, maybe not. Never mind.
Oh, it's a bone. Hey, whatever. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, man. Hit that subscribe button, bro.
Hit that subscribe button real quick, okay? And if you just came in here, watch the replay, okay? We touched on a few things there, covered a lot. So, yeah. All right. Any final words before we get up out of here?
No.
Yes. Listen. It's been a long day. We still got some things we got to work on. So that's why we're giving you this live stream, because look, man, #one take. All right. We're not going one take. We're not going back and editing anything. Okay. Should said, who wants to play Bones? I don't know. Play with Cold Dip Paul. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's it. We got more content coming out here soon. So stay tuned. I know we've been a little inconsistent with the weekly podcast, but we're trying to make sure we give you something every week or so. And if we miss something, we're gonna give you something a little extra. All right. So just stay tuned. All right, B, are you ready?
I'm ready.
He is ready. We are getting up out of here. We will not see you guys again before the holidays. At least Christmas, New Year's, you'll probably see something from us. But have a happy holidays and be safe out there. Enjoy your time with your loved ones. All right. And we will see you guys soon. Peace out.